Mike Owens with Inside Fighting, joined today by Paul Rimmer, head coach of NextGen MMA and, MMA coach extraordinaire. When we think about Paddy Pimblett, Molly McCann, Nathan Fletcher, and the like. Paul, always a pleasure, my mate. How are things with you today?
I'm good, mate. I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for giving me some of your time. First and foremost, obviously you're in town for Molly McCann and Nathan Fletcher, who are on UFC London this Saturday. How are things going?
Really, really good. Camp's been really good, really easy. Molly had a change of opponents on Friday, but she's professional. She's worked through that, and we're looking forward to having a good night on Saturday.
Yeah. Can I ask before we talk about this? We talked about this in the lift, I think, yesterday. Do you like the month of March or not? Because it's probably one of, if not your busiest month, because we have Cage Warriors Manchester, Cage Warriors London, which I'm not sure if anybody's on, but there's always a chance. And then obviously this kind of UFC, London in around about, the end of mid to end of March, so always a busy period.
Yeah, well, I mean, we like busy because it means that a lot of the lads are in camp. I said lads, a lot of the team are in camp at the same time. And when everyone's in camp at the same time, it makes life a lot easier. Obviously, because otherwise we're running separate camps for separate people at different times, and March is like I say, with other guys on Cage Warriors, other guys on people on UFC, it does make life a lot easier for us.
Describe to me what your role is on fight week, past kind of running training sessions. What's kind of the essential things that you have to do throughout the course of the week?
Just kind of being supportive for the fighters that are on. Any reassurance stuff that they need, keeping them not entertained, but making sure they've got stuff to do that doesn't make stuff too tasking for them. Making sure that they've got support with them when they're doing their interviews, stuff like that. And then above and beyond all that sort of stuff is the coaching sessions that we run still while they're in camp.
What's the is there a specific vibe that you like to keep on fight week? Because it obviously is a very pressured situation. They're cutting weight and they're preparing to fight somebody in a cage with, in their underwear essentially in a couple of days' time. Is there a specific vibe that you like to keep throughout the team?
It depends where people are in the career, I suppose, as well, and who we're with. Everyone's very different. We always try to keep like a very kind of light-hearted approach when the guys are experienced, because we don't want them sitting there worrying about it. Sometimes when people are new, they need more like reassurance fight week of like certain things and stuff. But obviously, most promotions only have you there for like a day or two, and UFC is different. It's there for a longer time, and then you're pulling the athletes away from the support systems at home, the families and stuff, and a lot of the times they need to switch off from that. So we're kind of everything to them, what I mean? They become their family for the week, I suppose.
Yeah, 100%, mate. Molly's obviously coming off a loss in her last fight at UFC 304. Nathan's coming off the biggest win of his career and kind of getting that kind of shot in the UFC, or his full-time place in the UFC. Describe the difference in mentality between the two going into fight night.
There isn't really any difference between the two mentality-wise, because Molly is a true professional and Nathan is a true professional. Both of them see fighting as what it is. It's a sport. I always kind of say this to people, which is 50% of all fighters lose.
Yeah.
You put two people in a cage, one of them's going to lose. It happens a lot. So they understand that kind of like it's not a personal business. It is very much about sport, professionalism, being an athlete, and they take it in the stride. Both of them are very professional athletes. Neither of them take wins or losses personal. They learn from the losses. They try to come back as best as they can and make the changes in what needs to be changed.
You mentioned professionalism there. Outside of the physical aspects of the sport, what would you say are some of the key ingredients that an athlete needs from a mental or a psychological standpoint in order to get to the top?
Well, I mean, having confidence in yourself is number one. So, for example, if you are coming off a loss, having the confidence in yourself to build yourself back up and get back in the cage is something that's very important. Like, people have a tendency to go, I need to train harder, I need to do this. But MMA is rules, it's a fight. There's so many things that look at it, and you can look back at fights and go, this is what actually went wrong. Sometimes you haven't done anything wrong in camp. Like I always say to the guys, I was like, you can lose every single round in a training camp and still win a fight. And you can win every single round in training camp and still lose your fight.
Yeah.
A lot of it is like just on the day, decisions being made, we see it as what it is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's not, like I say, it's not personal.
Nathan's in the UFC, Molly's in the UFC, Paddy's in the UFC. There is a whole host of fighters under your wing who would love to be in those ranks, and whole host of fighters who probably deserve to be in those ranks. If you were a betting man, who do you think is next to grace the UFC from NextGen?
If I was a betting man, and I am,
Okay.
I'd like to say obviously Luke Riley.
Mm.
But we also have Shem there, we have Liam Gittins there, and I think all three of them deserve their shot at the UFC. And I feel as though 2025 is going to be a big year for them guys.
Yeah.
And I think, like I say, we'll see if it's right or wrong.
Let's talk about UFC 314, because I know in a couple of weeks' time you'll be jetting off to sunny Miami for Paddy Pimblett's massive fight against Michael Chandler.
Yeah.
First and foremost, is this the biggest fight in NextGen MMA's history?
I would definitely say it's the biggest fight so far. We've had we've had ranked athletes fighting for ranked spots in Bellator and stuff, Lee McCourt, and with Paddy, this is like the first ranked fight against like a high ranked fighter, if you know what I mean. Like Paddy's number 12 at the moment, Michael's number 7. Putting Paddy into his spot would allow Paddy to fight the upper level guys, which is kind of what everyone's trying to get to. Lightweight's not, and it's probably the hardest division in professional MMA, lightweight UFC division, and any opportunities you get to climb that ladder, you have to take. Okay, you cannot be hanging around on this. You got to think to yourself. A lot of the guys in the top 5 have either been beat by the champ or have just come off huge fights against other top 5 guys, and so many things can happen. The champ can get injured, people in the top can get injured and turn down fights that they want. When we got offered the Chandler fight, and we were like, has he said yes to this? You know what I mean? There was a lot of that sort of stuff, because we were like, okay, he's given Paddy a shot, and that's what people don't see sometimes. Like, you have the high top end guys, the top 5, and for one of them to come out and fight someone outside of the top 10 is a rare thing. So we were like, let's take it. We're going to jump at this with both hands. And part of the reason why we want to do this is we want to show everyone how good Paddy is. Everyone's always got the criticisms of him. They've got these things on him. Absolutely none of the people that have ever sparred or fought Paddy have them same criticisms of him. Yeah. Okay. The general public think that they know what's going on, when they don't.
You've kind of robbed me next question there, because what I was going to ask, and if I get the chance to, I'll ask Paddy this throughout the course of fight week. When he beat Jared Gordon, people said it was a robbery. When he beat Tony Ferguson, people said Tony was washed. When he beat Bobby Green, people said Bobby Green wasn't as good as anybody ever said he was. What do people say if he beats Michael Chandler?
I'm sure they'll come up with something. I'm sure, I don't look at him the same way other people look at him. So they're going to have their opinions, and I have mine opinions. The difference between my opinions and their opinions is I keep my opinions to myself, and just keep proving them wrong. Yeah.
What's his mindset like going into this? Because obviously, I would argue it's probably the biggest fight of his career. He's obviously had massive fights. What is his mindset like going into this one?
Paddy's got a very elite mindset. He doesn't falter or waver in how he feels about beating someone in a fight. He's not the person that I worry about when it comes to that sort of stuff. And I'll say this,
is that what sets him apart, do you think?
I'll tell you what sets him apart. Most fighters worry about fighting. Paddy loves fighting. That's the biggest thing I can say about him. Like, everyone's like, oh, training camp, blah, 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 and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, he just wants to get in there and absolutely tear the other person apart. That's what he gets him excited.
What do you think a win in a couple of weeks' time unlocks for Paddy?
I think it unlocks the steps that needs to grow his career even more. Yeah. Win over Michael Chandler might mean a fight against the Charles Oliveira, and potentially maybe a title fight against Islam. I don't like looking too far ahead. It's like one fight at a time. I'm aware of the possibilities of what may come across, but we've got a job to do, and that's what we're all focused and dialed in on at the moment.
Yeah. I love it. Well, Paul, thank you so much for your time. I know you said the day is a bit more of a downtime day, but I know that you're still very busy, so very much appreciate your time. Best of luck with the fights on Saturday, and best of luck with all the future fights.
Thanks very much, mate. Appreciate it.